Countdown. Let's count down. Count down. Countdown. Timer. Countdown timer. Tells us when the live stream is about to start. So as you are coming in, good morning, everybody who is checking in. Good evening, afternoon, whatever time of day. Get off, whatever time of day it happens to be for any of you. All right, that's your last morning. Whatever time of day it happens to be for you, hope everybody's having a great start to your Friday. We're going to get into this topic here today. The topic is, as you can see in the description, players and cheerleaders. You have to decide what role you want to play, what position you're going to be in. And this is something that I've talked about in my book. One of my books is called Work on Your Game. You can see it right over my shoulder right there. I'm live in 2 places, by the way, TikTok and Instagram. And there was an exchange that I had on social media. I've had this type of exchange multiple times, actually, over the years on social media, where a person seems to be much more of a fan of some celebrity or entertainer, athlete, politician, etc., than they are even of themselves and what they're doing. And when I notice people doing this, and then at the same time, those people will turn around and lament their own lack of progress or not being where they want to be. So today, what I want to make sure that we get clear on is, are you in the game playing, or are you at the game watching? And those are 2 different things. And when I say the game, I'm not talking about sports or celebrity or what's the other thing, politics or social media even. What I'm talking about is the game of your life. Are you playing in the game and participating so that other people can watch and note and know of you? Or are you watching the game and just noting what everybody else is doing and maybe clapping for them and supporting them, if you want to call it that? And there's nothing wrong with supporting other people, but understand that you have a game that needs to be played at the same time that you're watching everybody else's. So that's what we're going to talk about here today. Introducing myself, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year professional athlete, author of 35 books, done 4 TEDxTalks. I created this brand. I own this brand that is called Work on Your Game, where what we do here is about helping you perform at your highest level, do so consistently, and produce more results in your business and in your life. And the way that we do that is by extracting the tools and the strategies and the systems that work in the sports world and bringing them over to everyday life and to the business world. So getting into this topic here today, which is, are you a player or a cheerleader? This is a question that I am asking that you need to answer. Number 1, here's the question you should ask yourself. Are you a bigger fan of any other person than you are of yourself? First question that you should ask yourself. Is there any person on the planet for whom you are a bigger fan than you are of yourself? I don't care who the person is. It could be a politician. It can be an athlete that you like. It can be a band or a singer or a rapper who you're a fan of. It can be some influencer on social media who you follow, you've been following for 20 years. Is there anybody out there that you are more of a fan of them than you are of yourself? Is anybody out there for whom you have more belief? You believe in their ability to succeed more than you believe in your own ability to succeed. Now that one, you should sit with that one and think about that one for a minute. You might not be able to answer that one off the top. Is there anyone out there who you believe in more than you believe in you? And most of the time when I ask people this question directly, like let's say in this live stream here, someone comments, many people may say no. They say no, there's nobody who I believe in more than I believe in myself. I question that. I'm not saying any of you individually. Somebody said my wife. Oh, okay, let's say outside of immediate family. So maybe you'll say your wife or your husband or your son, maybe one of them, maybe your dad or your mom. Let's say outside of immediate family. Anybody else out there? I'm talking about the people you can see in the world. Again, politician, celebrity, author, entertainer, athlete, influencer, etc. I find, this is my theory, because I don't know, I can't read other people's minds, but I find that many people out there, I would say actually most people, that's not all of you, but most humans, period, tend to believe in others more than they believe in themselves. They have other people they believe in more than they believe in them. Like there's a lot of basketball players, for example, who believe in LeBron James or Steph Curry more than they believe in themselves. They believe in what LeBron can do on the court more than they believe in what they can do on the court. There are people out there who believe in, now that we have election season coming up, there are people out there who believe in Kamala Harris or Donald Trump more, or Barack Obama or whoever you like, Joe Biden, more than they believe in themselves. There are people who believe in, Beyonce or Drake or Kendrick Lamar more than they believe in their own ability to be successful. And people, again, if you ask them this straight up and directly, most people will say no. But if you look at their actions and you listen to the things that people say, then there's a conflict. There's an incongruence between what they're saying and what they're actually doing and how they're talking. Most people have much more belief in those people than they have in themselves. And this is what makes you, by my definition, the way that I'm laying this out, this makes you a cheerleader. This is what makes you a cheerleader. Again, there's nothing necessarily wrong with being a cheerleader. All right, we like the cheerleaders. We need the cheerleaders. The cheerleaders help bring attention to the game that's going on, and they cheer for the players. But at the same time, what are we doing here? What are we doing? Are you playing in the game or are you watching the game? That's just a question you got to ask yourself. Are you playing or are you watching? Okay, so the person who you're, and again, I see this on social media all the time. People get all excited defending or arguing about somebody who they like, they're a fan of. And again, there's nothing wrong with being a fan. I'm a fan of certain people too, but I'm not putting more energy and attention into them than I'm putting into myself. This is a question that you need to ask yourself. The reason why celebrities become celebrities is because most people don't want the burden and responsibility of being a person who everybody else is watching and living vicariously through. That's what happens when you're a celebrity. When you become a celebrity or an influencer even, you are a person for whom a whole bunch of people are living vicariously through you. In other words, people feel up or down based on whether you are up or down. So take your favorite sports team, for example. Any of you who's a big sports fan, when the local football team is doing great, then you're really excited. And when the football team is bad, you're not feeling so great because the team's not doing as well. Or your favorite player, same thing. Or your favorite politician wins an election, you're all excited. They lose, you're feeling terrible. Same thing with your favorite influencers, your favorite artists, whatever it is. People are living vicariously through you when you assume that position. When you step into the player role, because I want to make sure all you understand this, when you step into the position of being the player rather than the cheerleader, and that means other people are noting and watching and living vicariously through you, now that's a responsibility. The responsibility is other people's happiness, success, and good vibes come from you actually producing and winning. You got to produce results and you got to win. And if you don't produce results and you don't win, then those people don't feel good because cheering for you is how they're vicariously living, which means if you lose, they lose. And when you win, they win. That's a responsibility. That's a burden that you have to carry on your shoulders. Are you ready for that? Are you ready to live up to that? Look at someone like politicians in politics. Let's say presidential elections. You look back to anyone that you've known since you've been alive. It's like that. There are people who are sycophants. I would say from 2008 on. So every election since then. So 2008, 2012, 2016, 2020, and now this one coming up, people have gotten like this. And it's more magnified now because we have social media and everybody can talk about what they think and what they feel. This is what celebrity is. People living through you. And when you become that person, understand you had a burden of all those people who are watching you. They will feel up or down based on whether you win or lose. Are you ready for that? If you want to step into that spot. Moving on to point number 2. We are talking here today about, are you a player or a cheerleader? This is an open question that I'm asking that you need to answer to yourself. You don't have to answer to me, but you need to answer it to yourself. Number 2, some people attempt to deflect from this question that I asked in point number 1. They'll say something like, well, what's wrong with supporting a person? What's wrong with being a fan of them? I've had people say this to me. I'll say something, let's say critical about some black person. Another black person will say, well, why are you criticizing another black man? Why are you criticizing a black woman? People will say this type of stuff. Nothing wrong with supporting another person if you want to support them. And this is what people are alluding to is that, well, if I go and cheer and clap for this person, then that means I'm setting myself up to be more successful because I'm cheerleading for this individual over there. I say bullshit. I reject that concept. I reject the notion that you going out and cheerleading for another person is positioning yourself better to be successful in the future. I reject that. I don't think you need to be a cheerleader at all to be a good player. There is no prerequisite. The prerequisite for being a good player is that you have to have game and you got to be able to perform. It is not that you need to sit on the bench and cheerlead for other people in order to qualify yourself to be a player. Because let me ask you a question. The same person you're cheerleading for, when were they on the bench cheering for you? How much time did they spend being your cheerleader? And you probably can't answer the question because they didn't do it. They never did it. So there's no prerequisite to being successful is that you got to cheer for other people's success. I'm not saying you need to be a hater. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having wanting other people to be successful, but it doesn't mean that you need to do it. And you don't get any extra points from the success gods because you cheer for other people's success. Understand that success and let's say something like money or accomplishment, these things don't have moral compasses, by the way. Those of you who don't know what I mean when I say moral compasses, it means that being a quote unquote good person doesn't equate to you making more money. Being a good person or a nice person or being what you consider to be ethical or moral, which are very subjective terms, those do not qualify you for success more than it qualifies a person who you think is unethical or immoral. It does not. N-O-T, it does not. So if you think being a good person and doing all the right things and being nice to people and being a supporter and being a cheerleader, if you think all of these things better qualify you to be successful, you are wrong. They do not. What qualifies you to be successful is that you hit the marks and the parameters that are required for the success that you are going after. That's it. So you need to find out what are the requirements to be successful in this space. If you do it, you get the success. You get the rewards. You could be a horrible person. You could be a terrible person. You can be a person who everyone in the neighborhood thinks you're immoral and unethical. You will still be successful if you do the things that success requires. Success follows its own rules. It does not follow moral and ethical rules. And many people have come to believe, well, this person is immoral and unethical, so they don't deserve to be successful. Well, look around in life. How many people do you know of or have seen who you know in your mind they are immoral, unethical, not good people, a bad person? You don't trust their character, whatever you feel about them, yet they still have created some level of success. Any of you know anybody who fits that description? Any of you know of someone who fits that description? Of course, we all do. Now, how is this possible? Because that is in direct conflict with this concept that a lot of people believe that being a quote unquote good person, it qualifies you for success or it better positions you to be successful. That is not true. How many people do you know who are good people, upstanding people? They're moral, they're ethical, they're nice, they're supporting, they're whatever other words you want to use to say that they're a good person, yet they don't have much success to speak of. If you just had to lay out their resume of success, they don't have much, even though they're a good person, great person, nice personality, they support everybody, they cheerlead for everybody else, yet they don't have much success of their own to speak of, despite all these positive characteristics and positive qualities. There's a lot of people who fit that description, right? All right. So if you really thought about this, most people don't think about things this way. I do. This is why you need to understand being a cheerleader doesn't qualify you for anything except a set of pom-poms. And again, nothing wrong with that. If that's the way you want to live. I'm just asking the question. All right, how do you want to live? You want to play, you want to cheerlead. And you cannot do both at the same time. Point number 3. We're talking here today. Question is, are you a player or a cheerleader? Number 3, it is much easier to sit on the sidelines and cheer for what other people is doing than to put the pressure and focus on yourself to do it on your own. It's much easier to sit on the sideline and cheer for LeBron to do it than it is for you to get on the court and do it yourself with everybody else watching you and expecting you to do it. Again, as I told you, there is a burden that goes on a person who steps into a leadership position, and you can be a leader without even trying to be because other people have just decided to get behind and follow you. Now you got to deliver because everybody's expecting you to deliver. All right, that's a burden. It's a burden when every day you show up to work, there's a bunch of people expecting you to deliver, not only expecting you to deliver, not only wanting you to deliver, but needing you to deliver. Because if you don't deliver, then they don't eat. If you don't deliver, they don't survive. If you don't deliver, they're in a messed up position now because you didn't deliver because they decided, you know what, I'm not going to step into the front line. I'm going to get behind him. I'm going to get behind her. And my success is going to be dependent on what he or she does. And you're the he or she that they're depending on. Now you got to show up every day and deliver because every day you don't deliver, they don't eat. They can't pay their bills. They can't take care of their situation because you didn't take care of yours. That's the leadership position. That's a tough position to be in. So when I ask people, you want to be a player or a cheerleader, many people quickly answer player without thinking about it. You need to understand what you're actually signing up for. So don't think that what you're signing up for is just the glitz and the glamour and the followers and the fame and the stuff that y'all see on social media, people showing you their highlights. Yeah, you get that, but the trade-off is all the stuff that you don't see. And I'm telling you about that right now. This is not a conclusive list, by the way. This is some of the things that come with it. But this is a burden that you carry on your shoulders, and you don't get a day off from this because those people are not going to stop depending on you. They're not going to stop depending on you because you have a headache, or because your car broke down, or because your leg hurts, or because something went wrong in your business, or because somebody did something bad to you, or because you got some issues with the IRS. All right, all of those things can and will happen. You still have to show up and deliver. All right, you are still responsible for all those people who decided to follow you when you become a leader. Even if you didn't ask them to follow you, you are still responsible for them. So again, I told you, this ain't no easy job. You are responsible for these people, even if you never told them or asked them or gave them any indication that they should follow you. Because they decided to, you are responsible for them. You ready for that? You want to sign up for that? Right, not as easy as it sounds, right? It's not as, this part that I'm telling you is not, this is the part you don't see on social, this is the part you don't see on social media. You don't see this on Instagram. See, it's easier to watch what those are doing instead of being a cheerleader. And I'll answer questions at the end. Instead of being a cheerleader and getting behind somebody, it's much easier to get behind them than it is to be the person in the front. And that level of excellence that you got to deliver consistently, all right, this is not easy work. Okay, so again, this is why you see the masses of people get so excited about a politician or an entertainer or an influencer or an athlete, because they don't want to take that responsibility. They couldn't deal with that kind of expectation. So let's just get in line, and I'll just follow this person. This is much better, since most people live like this. By the way, 98% of people live this way that I'm describing, the cheerleader way. Only 2% of people accept this mission of the leadership way. And I would say maybe about 5% of people step into the leadership role, and then when they realize what it's really about, which is not just the stuff that you see, the highlights, they see what the B-roll is, the stuff that you don't see, the stuff that gets left on the cutting room floor. Then they say, oh, okay, this ain't for me. Let me go back to where I was. And that's fine. This is not for everybody. I want to be very clear. I talk about this in my spaces all the time. What I talk about, the kind of stuff that I discuss, is not for everybody. I am not looking for everybody. I am not looking to influence or persuade everybody. I do not want to sell my materials to everybody. I do not want to coach everybody. I don't want everybody in my programs. This ain't for everybody. It's for a certain select group of people. People who want to take on all this. I'm telling you all the bad stuff right now, so that you know, if this ain't for you, you know it's not for you. I'm telling you all this stuff up front, so there are no surprises. Now, if you hear all this and you're still like, hey, I want to take the next step, okay, you go to Work on Your Game University and you can take the next step. But this is the game that you're signing up for, if you choose to get in this game. And again, this game ain't for everybody. It will never be for everybody. Some people, it will never be for you. Some of you, it might be for you for a season. Then you need to get out. That's completely okay. So the question I'm asking is, who wants to deal with that level of expectation on your shoulders? And if you don't, that's fine. You can be a cheerleader. They'll get you a nice spot right there on the sideline. And when the team scores, you can get up and clap. All right, that's what you can do. Let me recap these points. Anybody got a question or comment, put it in the comments. I'll address them in a moment. 3 points we're talking here today. Are you a player or a cheerleader? Number one, are you a bigger fan of any other person on the planet than you are of yourself? All right, aside from your immediate family, all right, not your mom, dad, your kids, your spouse, but anybody outside of that. You're a bigger fan of Beyonce than you are of you. You believe in Donald Trump more than you believe in yourself. All right, would you defend LeBron James stronger than you would defend yourself? All right, that's the first question. Are you a cheerleader or are you not? Number two, some people attempt to deflect from this question by talking about how they're supporting another person as if that makes you more qualified for success. No, it does not. Success and, let's say, any type of accomplishment or achievement don't have a morality clause. There is no morality clause to being successful, meaning being a good person or being ethical or being upstanding or whatever phrases you want to use to define a person who's like a good person. None of those things make you more qualified for success than a person who's a bad person. An unethical, immoral person who does all the things necessary to be quote unquote successful or to accomplish will still achieve success even though they're a bad person. And a person who is a great person and a good person, they're ethical and moral, and they don't do the things required for success, they will still be a failure. All right, so there is no morality clause in being successful. Many of you have been raised to believe that being a good person will get you closer to success. No, it doesn't. Being a performer gets you closer to success. Success requires performance. It does not require being a good person. There's no character interview for being successful. Right? You can have the worst character in the world. If you do all the things that success requires, you will get the money, you will get the position, you will get the accomplishment. That's how it works. Look around in life and you will notice that this is 100% true and it is never violated. And just because somebody is a good person and they are successful, they aren't successful because they're a good person. They're a good person because they perform and they happen to be a good person. That is not what makes you successful. Number three, it's much easier to sit on the sidelines and cheer for other people than it is to step up and be the one being cheered for. It's fun to be cheered for, but it's also the flip side of being cheered for is that people are expecting you, depending on and needing you to be successful in order for them to be successful. That is the trade-off of leadership that many people don't talk about simply because many people don't understand it. But now that I've explained it to you, now you got it. And if you are ready to deal with this, then Work on Your Game University is the place you take your next step. And we are continually adding new game, new material. You like to hear me go deeper on stuff like this? All that happens in Work on Your Game University in our programs, courses, and also because you can get direct coaching from me. So you got a question or comment, put it in the comment section right now. I will address them in one moment. I'll start over on TikTok. I think it was fewer. I don't know if I've seen anything on TikTok. Then I'll go over to Instagram. So you got a question or comment, put it in the comments right now, and I will address it. So I see a couple of you answered the questions. Whether you are said no one with God. Okay, God I'll accept. That's fine. And someone said Vincent Company. I heard of Vincent Company. I don't even know who he is, but I don't know what this person's talking about. So Instagram, question or comment, go ahead and post it. Always Training says most humans don't believe in themselves. A waste of time and speed is key. Well, I do believe a lot of people don't believe in themselves as strongly as they believe in others. I do believe in that. Waste of time believing in someone else's process. Okay, possibly. Let's see. Question is, why would consider the player in Rockefeller doesn't have to be one player, does it? Biggs played behind the scenes, Daniel played the talent. Who was the guy? Well, I'm talking each individual person in your life. Are you the player or are you the cheerleader is the question I'm asking. It doesn't have to be one person. No, everybody on the team could be a player. And question is, would it be an advantage to learn how to play both positions? The lieutenant can play the private role, private cannot play the lieutenant's role in battle. It's not a question of there has to be one person. A sports team football team has 50 players on it, but in the stands there are 50,000 people or 20,000 or 30,000 people watching the game. So it's not that it has to be one individual person. That's missing the point. When I say player, again, sports teams is a team, so it's a bunch of players, but there are also many more fans than there are players. That's the point that I'm making. So with that said, folks, Work on Your Game University, and you want to work with me directly, that's the place where it happens in the university. We are going to be adding a whole bunch more stuff to the university. Also, that means the price is going to go up. So if you're going to get in, you better get in. And what's the other thing? Work on Your Game Masterclass comes out every single day, free of charge. You can find that on Spotify and Apple. And just look up my name, Dre Baldwin, or just look up Work on Your Game on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. That's where you'll find that. And what else you need to know? Everything else you need to know, just watch my material that I put up on my feeds on both TikTok and Instagram. And that's that. Anybody else got anything else, send me a DM on either one of these apps. I don't always check the DMs on TikTok, but my assistant does. My assistant watches the IG, definitely. Everybody have a great Friday. Work on your game. We out.